And now CRM Audio presents Captain Redlace's Power BI Corner with Business Solutions MVP Scott Sewell.
This episode of Captain Redlace's Power BI Corner is brought to you by our friends at KingswaySoft. KingswaySoft is a leading integration solution provider offering software solutions that make data integration affordable and painlessly easy. Thousands of enterprise clients from over 65 countries and regions rely on KingswaySoft to integrate data with various application systems in order to drive their business efficiency and fully leverage their information assets. KingswaySoft is a leading provider of Microsoft Dynamics integration software, including Dynamics 365, CRM, AX, NAV, GP, SL, as well as many other applications such as Marketo, Dropbox, QuickBooks, and Salesforce. Whether you need one solution or several, KingswaySoft works easily within the SSIS platform to make your integration process as quick and easy as possible. Many of their clients have seen 3 to 10 times greater data integration performance after switching to the SSIS integration toolkit. We thank KingswaySoft for their support of Captain Redlace's Power BI Corner.
Well, Scott, look who just joined us. It's Ulrik Carlsson, also known as, or better known as, the CRM Chart Guy.
That's awesome, man.
All right, hey, thanks for
man, I got to give you hats off. The CRM Chart Guy, the blogs you've posted on that have been just tremendously helpful in the past, on especially just neat cleanups to existing CRM visualizations. You've done an awesome job, so hats off to you, man.
Thank you very much.
It seems like you got more Power BI stuff than CRM Charts these days. Are you going to rename yourself to the CRM and Power BI Charts Guy?
So, yeah, and I need to figure out what I do with the CRM moniker, too, right, now that it's all Dynamics 365. But I've definitely expanded the scope to just go upon outside of chart XML modification, because the premise was analytics and what you could do with the tools that's basically inside Dynamics 365 or CRM. And the tool set have grown a lot recently, specifically with Power BI, but also with Customer Insights coming. So it was time to expand and go outside of just working with the chart XML modifications.
Yeah. That's been very helpful. Well, tell me about so you're doing more Power BI work now?
Much more, yeah. Like, it seems like that's the one that everyone's interested in and hearing about, right? Mm-hmm. I can see from my blog and questions I get, there's still a lot of interest in the chart XML and using the built-in charts and features there. But when it comes to presentation sessions, demos, everybody wants to see what Power BI has to offer.
Right. Well, tell me about what are you doing? So you're doing some presentations. I think I heard that you were doing some training as well.
Yeah, I've actually just completed some trainings around Europe. Did like four stops in Europe doing a training on a full-day class on business intelligence using Power BI and Cortana Intelligence or Cortana Analytics, basically mixing some of all those features with the Dynamics 365 platform.
Okay. Well, what kind of conversations or what kind of questions are you getting while you're in the training sessions?
So that's a lot of good questions there, and what's interesting too is that the crowd has changed a little bit from my perspective, being Dynamics 365 or CRM consultants, CRM focused, to being a mix of CRM and AX people. So operations is definitely becoming a big part of it, where some of these features are definitely more platform agnostic than what we've been used to in the past. So of course one of the main questions is for people trying to figure out is what is this Cortana Intelligence or Cortana Analytics that's being talked about. That's one of them. So we spent some time talking about that, but also mostly on integrations, using Power BI, using visualizations, and using the right tools, the right analytics tools at the right time with your dynamic solution. And then also using the having some good discussions on the security model and what actually happens to your rows, to your data when you share it in Power BI, share it outside of Dynamics 365, for example, because you have to. And you guys talked about this in a previous episode. Mm-hmm. You could very easily share all your confidential data through Power BI. maybe even without even knowing it. So you definitely have to be aware of how you are handling those situations.
Take some thoughtful aspect of it. Take some thoughtful aspects to implement it correctly and understand what it is and what it isn't. So you mentioned the previous podcast. We'll probably come back to that a couple of times because it's such a great topic. Tell me, one of the questions that I have. I spoke at a Power BI user group meeting here in New York City. I guess it was last week, and one of the conversations that came up, and it's come up a couple of times in the process, is you mentioned how do I use Power BI and some integration or integrated into my platform, and people have questions around Power BI embedded. Have you looked at Power BI embedded at all and understand and take a look at what it's for, and probably just as important to say what is it as it is to say what it's not.
Exactly, and that's usually where I start in explaining Power BI embedded, because usually when it comes up in my context is like somebody wants to embed Power BI inside Dynamics 365. Mm-hmm. Even when you go into the system settings in Dynamics 365 and you want to enable Power BI, I think the checkbox says you want to embed Power BI visuals inside Dynamics 365, and you check it off as yes, right? And then maybe you go online to search for more information. You go to Bing. And put in embed Power BI, and you land on this service called Power BI Embedded. And those are actually two very different things. The first thing that I was talking about, like embedding inside Power BI, is basically the integration into Dynamics 365, where you can see the Power BI tiles, the dashboards inside Dynamics. Of course, assuming that those Power BI dashboards have been shared with the users who have access to them. Power BI Embedded, on the other hand, is an Azure service, kind of exists by itself. You don't need to use it necessarily with Dynamics 365. That allows you to use your Power BI visuals externally, so basically show them to your customers or other people who are outside of your Active Directory, for example. Mm-hmm. Of course, at a slight cost. I think it's about 5 cents per session, so every time a new customer goes look at your visuals for about an hour, it's going to cost you 5 cents every time.
And so hypothetically, when Power BI, what is Power BI's what are the applications that are at sweet spot? You mentioned sharing information externally. Is that if I'm a reseller and my partners that are out there need to access Power BI data from my system, is Power BI Embedded the approach to take, or is something else the approach?
So if your partners are outside of your Active Directory, like they're not a part of your tenant and they don't have a Power BI license, the Power BI Embedded service would be the way to go. If they already have access to Power BI, if they have their own Power BI license, you could potentially just share those dashboards with them. Of course, you want to be careful sharing dashboards if you start sharing data outside of your organization. Mm-hmm. And you can actually disable that now for most users, so you cannot share data externally.
Yeah. So if I shared a Power BI dashboard via embedded, do I need to write my own app, or do I need to wrap that around a web service? A web page, or is it standalone, or what should I consider? What's going to be the right path forward for me if I wanted to share my internal data with specific partners? And in addition to that, do I have security within that to say this partner can see only the data they're allowed to see inside a CRM, or am I sharing everything to every partner?
So you can share it, basically authenticate the users. And one of the examples where I've actually seen Power BI Embedded used is within the Microsoft portals. So when you're setting up a portal, once you're logged in, or an external customer is logged into your portal and can create new cases, look at the information, whatever it is that you're sharing on the portal, you can also use Power BI Embedded to make your Power BI visuals and basically show the correct visuals inside the portal itself to these external customers. Of course, only after they've been authenticated. So it is intended for you to like put inside your own application, and making sure that you have control over who's actually watching it and the information that they're watching. The other option, the last option for sharing your Power BI dashboards, of course, you can share them globally or publicly, meaning that everybody with a link has access to it. And usually that's not the way to go.
Yeah, that might be appropriate for like if you're like a Netflix and you want to show most popular movies and you don't care who accesses that view or that graphic. But if I'm trying to share my customer data, that I certainly don't want to do that. But what you're describing about embedded, correct me if I'm wrong, is it, from what I hear, I think it sounds like it's a really powerful tool or control, but really, designed for use by in development environments. Is that accurate?
That is true, yeah. And it's a separate Azure service. So yeah, you do need to set it up and do need to work with some development, of course, put it inside your application and where you want to share it.
Okay.
Because we're assuming that you don't want to share it publicly.
Sure.
Especially since you're being charged every time a customer goes look at it. That can usually get very expensive.
Okay.
So I saw your blog post about this, Ulrik, and what you were saying in there is instead of using embedded, if you want to get a kind of a filtered Power BI view from Dynamics, you want to use the customer insights.
Yeah, because that's usually where the conversation starts on embedding Power BI tiles. Is that you say you have a customer form, and you have all these great visuals in Power BI, and why can't I put those on the customer form and just have the information filtered specific to this customer? So I have KPIs, everything for the individual customer. And one of the things that Power BI does not allow is to iframe your components. So you can't really just easily iframe those Power BI visuals inside Dynamics 365 and filter it according to the customer record that you're looking at. There's a couple of workarounds. So that's a blog post I just wrote, is that the Power BI reports, actually each of them have a unique URL. And you can add a couple of parameters at the end where you specify the table name and the column name, and can basically filter a customer report, for example, according to a specific customer. And then use a calculated field inside Dynamics 365 to basically generate that unique URL for you. So you have basically a Power BI customer-specific report that's basically only one click away. Click the link, it'll pop out in a new window, and you'll have like your nice customer-specific visuals and KPIs.
Very good. I thought your blog post was excellent. I haven't had a chance to try it, but have you put that into production somewhere, or is it you got a good demo environment right now?
So I have done it a lot in demos.
Okay.
And I've actually been showing this too in sessions. And because a lot of people have been coming and asking that specific question, like, how do I do this with Power BI? And you can get close. If you do have some developers handy, there are some ways that you can work with your like Azure security tokens and authorizations that may enable you to iframe those components. But the other part of the conversation, and of course as we're going through all the different analytics options you have in Dynamics 365, is that Power BI is not the only one. There's also this new tool coming out called Dynamics Customer Insights, which until a couple of weeks ago it used to be called Azure Customer Insights, so it's still in the phase where it's being renamed about every 3 months, I think. But the main difference between those two, because some of the visuals look similar, but Power BI is like your executive reporting tool where you have access to all the data. You can do the drill downs and look at all the information for the organization. Customer Insights, on the other hand, is designed specifically to show you analytics in context of a customer profile, for example, or contact profile. So all the visuals, components, everything is basically being designed around to be put on a customer form, for example. So when you set up your customer insight panels, for example, it'll actually give you those embed links and iframe links that you need to use when you put them into another application. So that's also what I mean. Like, we're trying to do this with Power BI. I say you can definitely do it. There's some workarounds that'll let you do it, but fairly soon, and I'm not sure we have the exact date yet. I don't think it's actually promised, but we do have this other tool, Dynamics Customer Insight, which is designed specifically for this.
So, Ulrik, how do you see these coming together even more in the future? What would you like to see?
Great question. I can't wait to get my hands on a final version of Dynamics Customer Insights to play with, because it looks very, very interesting, and it allows you to do a lot of these like more contextual reporting. So when you're inside Dynamics, it also is designed more for having like more real-time type reporting, which can be, depending on how you use Power BI, can be a limitation of Power BI. Whereas Dynamics Customer Insights is at least updated at least every 15 minutes, so you have more near real-time data. So we're basically going to have like the standard charts and dashboards, Dynamics Customer Insights, and Power BI, and it's really going to be a part of mix, like figuring out which of the tool is going to be the correct tool for the job. I definitely see like Customer Insights is probably going to take a piece of the pie where we would normally use like the standard charts and dashboards, and Power BI is probably going to keep its place as this analytics tool and a self-service analytics tool, but not necessarily being so much inside Dynamics 365 itself compared to how you would use Customer Insights, for example.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's exciting. I can't wait to see more about that.
It's great information. Thank you, Ulrik.
Yeah, well, thanks for joining us, Mr. Chart Guy.
Thanks for having me.
You got any dirty secrets about Gus to share with us while you're here?
So, no.
Probably wise since he's your boss.
None that I can share on a podcast.